I'm Mary Beth Huffman, Impact Marketing and Public Relations. We're building a message today that makes impact. I'm going to go through this really swiftly today. This is for beginners and advanced. If you have any questions, please see me later on and we can go through some of those. Some of these things may surprise you, just to let you know, such as a brand does not necessarily mean it's a logo or a tagline. I know most people tend to think that it is a tool, and a brand is your service. It's social media. It's your messaging. It's your sales process, marketing. So it's everything all in between. So think of your brand message as visible and invisible. So your visible message are those in words and graphics, everything in print as well as graphics themselves. So think of Disney. And what do you think of when you hear the word Disney or you see their logo? What do you think of?
Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse. What else?
Frozen.
All right. What kind of feelings? What do you think? Any memories? Young, fun. Yeah, childhood memories, happy. So those are the kind of things that they want to bring in. And go back many years ago, before smartphones, Apple changed the music industry as well as computers. So they were a trendsetter. They were focused on design, heavily on marketing, and they made everything simplicity. And customer service is also still key to their brand. Target, another one where designs and trends are huge for them. Advertising, as you know, is something that they really focus on, and it's upscale. There's a big difference between them and Sears, Kmart, Walmart. Panera Bread, one of my favorites, because it's fast, natural, good for you food. It's always clean, at least when I go in. And it's a twist on traditional. So think of what is it that you want your image to portray. Now, think of your passions. What are you passionate about? Focus on the things that bloom. What is it that are your strengths? So, take out a pen, pad of paper, and write down what portions of your business do you enjoy the most. What are your strengths? What are you good at? What are the most requested services and products? So when you meet people networking, or they meet you, what is it that they ask you? What kind of questions do they ask you about? So, or what are the most requested services? I'm going to keep going, so we have lots to cover. Values. If you notice some of those brands, we mentioned their values. What are your values? What are your company's values? If it's not your company, they surely have values in place in their mission statement. What are those values? And what are yours? Recently, I was watching a documentary of Muhammad Ali on PBS. Did anyone happen to catch that? I think it was like last week or two. He started from scratch. Just a local young boy boxing, and he is now a legend. And he did it because of his attitude. He had all of this creativity and this vision that he had for himself. And when everyone kept knocking him down and said, there's no way you're going to be able to do this. There's no way. And he just kept going at it. And with his drive, his determination, and attitude, he did, with his expertise and skill when training, built a name for himself. He said, the only limitations one has are the ones he places on himself. So true. So speaking of that, we've talked about your strengths. Now think about what are some of your weaknesses. What are some things that you can work on? What kind of marketing do you need to do to improve? How can you grow your business? Also think about, where is it that, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but where is it that your branding, your message, needs to be tweaked just a little bit? Because if it's not consistent, and if the message is not clear and concise, then people are going to be confused. They're like, well, why are you talking about this when you do that? Or, I don't really understand your solution that you have. So it has to be clear and concise. What are the threats? It can be economy. It could be your marketing. Maybe are you marketing to the wrong person? Are you marketing in the wrong way? Maybe it's the wrong message or not enough. Sometimes sales messages can be off. And look at your competitors. What are they doing? So write down some of those things, and as we go through today, jot down some of those things. So right now, I want you to number 1 through 10. And we're going to go back to those things that you really know and that people ask you about. What are the questions that others ask you about the most? Maybe it's about what are the biggest tax deductions that I can get for my business? So maybe that was one of the big questions that you had, for the year. We have an interior designer in the room. Maybe it's what are the trends for spring and summer? What kind of colors? I want to brighten up my room. What is it that that I can do to stop thinking about all the snow shoveling that we did this winter? So as you think about that, look at the top 4. Which ones are the most asked questions, and which ones do you know inside and out? Circle those. I'll give people a few more minutes. People are still writing. I'm going to go ahead and move on. Keep writing down your ideas. So what you're going to do is you're going to take these 4 items, product, service. Those are the things that people ask you about on and on. And everywhere you go, you're like, why do they keep asking me that? They want to know. It's not always what we want to sell or offer. It's what they're on the other side. What they want, what they need. So those are the 4 things that will be part of your elevator pitch. Some people I know in here and others I don't. Some of you have an excellent elevator pitch. If we had time, I'd love for you to do it. So one thing that they do the best is when you're networking. If we had time today, we say, go ahead and give your elevator pitch or your 30-second commercial, sometimes it's called. Because it goes back to you're in an elevator, you meet someone says, hi, who are you, create a conversation. You want to be able to sell yourself within seconds. So it's a statement of who you are, what you do, and then you're going to insert those 4 things that you just came up with, and who are your ideal customers, and what is it that you have a solution for them. Because again, it's WIFM radio station. What's in it for me? Me is your customer, what they're looking for. So why even think about all this? It's because your brand is everywhere. It's your employees, what they wear, how they talk, what they say, what they do. It's in anytime you go network. It's in your newsletter, your blog, anything that could copy, press releases, articles, advertising, everything. That is all about your message of who you are and what you want to say to others. So your message should be relevant to what your audience, your customer, wants and what they need. And it needs to be authentic and consistent throughout whatever you're saying, because customers love and they trust what's authentic, right? They want to believe you and trust you and love you. And that's how to do it and make it credible and believable. So keep that in mind when you're coming up with how to differentiate yourself away from your customer, from your competitors. What makes you different? Do you have a niche? What do you do better? And what is it that you solve for them? And how can you do that to meet their needs and their wants? Now, how can you take all this and build your message? We think of what you first want to do is you brainstorm some ideas. But first you got to have what was your purpose. Are you going to entertain them? Are you going to educate them? You know, you're going to educate them on the tax, laws upcoming, the most major ones that may be relevant for them. Are you going to persuade them? Is it opinion? Some research just came out about your industry, and you have an opinion about it, something that you don't agree with, or you agree parts with it. You could write an opinion piece and something that you can put on your website or your blog. Are you going to empower them? How are you going to do it? And then you go ahead and develop the piece. And what you want to do, it's important to get information out there, lots of it, because it's the cowbell principle. Give them what they want and tons of it, and they will keep coming back. You want to plan a monthly calendar of events. So you have a theme, whether it's spring, school's coming out, or maybe it's geared towards your audience, your industry itself. What's going on? So again, think about your image and what you want your brand to portray. What do you want it to portray? And how are you going to incorporate your passions and your expertise so that they know you are the right person to go to? So what do you do with all these things that you don't like to do? You don't have the time to do. You dislike doing it. Maybe it's a low cost or low revenue task. What do? Well, you delegate those. Hire them out so that you can focus on what you do best, your expertise. So when you're developing your elevator pitch, again, think of statement of who you are, what you do, who are your ideal customers, and what kind of solution do you solve for them? Because we never want to be in the situation like with years ago. Any of you remember when Pepsi decided to change their formula and they came out with New Pepsi? Everyone hated it. They went in an uproar because they changed classic Pepsi. So they spent all this time and money developing this new product that they thought was going to be the best thing since sliced bread, and it failed because they didn't talk to their customers. They had to go back and change the formula. They'll never do it again. I've seen documentaries, and the CEO says, it was the worst thing we ever did. We should have talked to our customers. What were we thinking? So keep that in mind when you're developing your brand messages. And remember, you can't sell if you're invisible. Your messages are everywhere. They're part of you, what you showcase, and in your business. And by combining all of this, you are building a message that makes impact. Thank you very much.